welcome to another edition of Survival Warehouse Library. I'm John Milandred, and today we're going to talk about char-cloth and the actual making of char-cloth. The reason why char-cloth is so important to be made is because it only takes a small spark to set it off. And there's different ways you can do it. That's in our fire starting video. This one is basically char-cloth only. Char-cloth, or char paper, as some people call it, is just made from linen or 100% cotton. And it doesn't matter what size or shape you actually make it in, as long as you just cut it to about the size you want. This is actually made out of an old pair of long john underwear shirt. And I can make hundreds and hundreds with that one shirt. But you can also use socks, pants, t-shirts, anything that's made out of 100% cotton, and that's the preferred. And what you're doing is you're charring this black. And so in this next little clip, I'm going to show you how to do it under controlled circumstances with an aluminum lid and pan that you can do at home. And once that's done, then I'm actually going to show you how to do it out of a cast iron. The important thing is that your soil or your sand is dry. So the only thing I'm going to do is just put some wet sand in here. I'm going to stick it over the fire until that sand is dry. Once that sand is dry, I'll go to the next step. So while we're waiting for this, take a look at this clip. Now I'm going to take and make some char-cloth. So the first thing, my little fire pit. This is called my capstone. And this way the smoke takes and rolls along, hits the capstone, and comes up, and it doesn't blacken my pans. What I've done is I've just taken 100% cotton, because I never throw away any of my shirts or anything. I just cut them into little strips, and this is an aluminum tin. Has the lid, push down tight, and it has the little hole on top. And so I'm going to build a fire, and I'm going to place this on it, and what it's going to do is heat up, start burning that cloth, and there'll be smoke pouring out of here. And that smoke you should be able to light on fire, almost like a candle. Once that stops, then my char-cloth is made. After about an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, it's time to check the char-cloth. There it is. Made from old long underwear, 100% cotton. You can use a t-shirt or anything else. So now I'm going to let this cool. Once this cools, we're ready to make fire. Now on this 100% cotton cloth shirt, anything, in the wild, of course, you would rip it. If you have a knife, you can just use the knife. I'm using a pair of scissors. And you just cut it into chunks. Cut it into strips first, then just little squares. And the biggest thing is to have your soil or sand, and I prefer sand, to be as dry as possible. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your cloth. This is approximately 50 pieces, so that's 50 fires that I can make. And you're just going to line the bottom. Try to get it about as even as possible. Once it's fairly even, try to get them as flat. You cover it back up with your soil or sand. This kind of blocks the oxygen so that you're not just catching your cloth on fire. Place it back over the fire. And in a cast iron, it doesn't matter if it's a Dutch oven or just a fry pan, it's only going to take about 20-25 minutes to actually make this. It's actually extremely fast. That's one of the reasons why the pioneers back in the 1800s, if they were attacked by Indians or if there was a situation, they would always carry their cast iron. They would leave everything else if possible. The reason for it is because, of course, you can cook, you can boil water, but it's easy to make char cloth and it's easy to start. So we're going to wait about 25-30 minutes and then we'll tip it over and get our cloth out of it. It's been approximately 30 minutes. And it's extremely dry, and it should be ready. That's what we're looking for. This char cloth. Extremely easy to make. Little spark will set it off. Now, you're probably saying, okay, how about if I'm in the wilderness? I don't have any pots or pans or anything. Well, you can actually use a Coke can, beer can, anything like that, any type of container. But let's say you don't. Let's say you're out there like the pioneers. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to take and try to get as much dry sand or soil as possible, and the drier the better. Spread it out. Keep the sun drying it. Then you're going to build as many coals as possible. So I'm going to let this burn down and try to get as many coals in the bottom as I can, and I'll show you the next step. We'll be right back. As you can see, there's a lot of coals in here now. And that's the main factor, is to have a lot of coals. If there's still a little bit of wood burning or something, that's okay. Now, because of the amount of coals, take anything, a stick, but kind of flatten them down. Then you want to take dry soil or sand and just sprinkle, because the one thing that's doing is acting as a slight barrier, because you don't want it burning too fast. And take your cloth, just like you normally would, sprinkle it in there. This is almost how you'd make charcoal even. Then you're going to want more dry sand over the top. And you're going to let it sit there and just let it smolder and stuff. It's okay if it starts to catch on fire, put a little bit more sand on it. But all you're doing is just lightly smoldering it so that the fabric is not being burnt too fast. You want it blackened and ready for yourself, but you don't want it to be just instant. This takes a little bit longer. Sometimes this could take an hour and a half to 2 hours before it's ready. And so I'm going to leave this for probably about 2 hours and come back and check on it. Right back. It's been a couple hours now. It's still pretty warm. And this is what we're looking for. This is the char cloth. Once you get it out of the hole, cover it with sand and keep covering it because it's hot. And we don't want it to burn yet. So if it still smolders, put more on it, because now we're actually trying to put it out. Once this cools down, you have your char cloth. So that's how you can actually make it in the wild, with just your t-shirt, part of your pants, your socks, your underwear, as long as it's 100% cotton. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Come and see us more. This was sponsored by survivalwarehouse.com as part of the Survival Warehouse Library. I'm John Milandred, and I'll see you on the next video.